I'm starting a Youth Academy only save on FM24. That means I can't sign anybody. I have to rely entirely on my youth intakes and the new gen players that generate from there every year. Oh, and I'm letting this football shirt mystery box decide the team that I'm using. Oh, okay. And our mystery team for today's challenge is Catanzaro of Serie B in Italy. They are a club from Catanzaro, which is a city in southern Italy from the Calabria region. And in fact, with this lovely new shirt that I've got, I feel like we should probably change, shouldn't we? So let's just... There we go then, much better. Catanzaro, Serie B. This is apparently a special shirt that they wore in December of 2024, and it's pretty funky. This, though, is what we are met with in game. We are predicted to finish in the Serie B. We're predicted to finish 9th, which is all right. It's a decent starting point, actually. We start with about 500k to spend transfer budget, but of course, I can't spend that in today's challenge. Instead, what I need to be looking at is this here. We have 2.5-star youth facilities, and we're still in grey stars for youth recruitment. That's not ideal for a save where you're relying entirely on youth intakes. We do actually have a hot prospect that I've noticed here. It is he looks pretty rubbish, to be honest. It's Eduardo Gargano, who's a 15-year-old goalkeeper. Our club balance is at £2 million, and I'm going to need to try and raise some money so that I can then reinvest it in these youth facilities so that we can hopefully get some good players in because I can't sign anybody. I've just checked the ages of the squad, by the way. We've got a few players that are past 30. I did get excited. I think there were quite a few young players. However, they're all on loan and I won't be able to keep them. So I'm looking at the age of the squad. Most of them are like 28 plus. We might have an issue here unless we start bringing in some youth players fairly quickly. This is going to be a real challenge of a save. It might even prove to be impossible. We're going to do it as an adventure and we play it by ear. This might end up being one video. It might end up being part 1 of 4. Who knows? If you guys are here, you've probably seen other series that we've done on the channel. And if you're new, well, welcome first and foremost. We do long form videos here about Football Manager. We go on adventures and we just sort of see where they take us. A new adventure with Catanzaro in Serie B begins today. A big thank you, by the way, to Surprise Shirts for today's video. They are the very best mystery shirts company on the planet. And that's because they offer something specifically for you guys. As well as being able to send you a surprise authentic football shirt from around the world, they offer an FM edition mystery box, which means that the shirt that you receive will be playable in the base version of FM24. And so with the unfortunate cancellation of FM25, this could be one of the best ways to choose a new FM24 save. And there's even a sliding scale feature which helps you to choose how obscure you want your shirt to be. And the best part, of course, is that if you use my code Clayts10, you get 10% off. And if you want to go one step further and football shirts are really your thing, or you want to start a collection, Surprise Shirts offer a subscription service. If you join the sub club, you get access to benefits such as a cheaper price, a bonus shirt free after 12 months, exclusive giveaways, and hospitality football match tickets. If you use Clayts20 at checkout for that, you get 20% off your first box. A genuine pleasure to work with such a cool company. But now it's time to start our adventure with Catanzaro. So I spent a bit of time getting to know the squad, and we are here on match day 1 of our first season. We kick off our Serie B campaign at home to Spezia, and I've set the boys up in this tactic here. I've gone for a 4-3-3 like this with inside forwards in the attack and some fullbacks on the attack. I've tried to keep it quite simple because we are in the 2nd division in Italy and because I'm kind of restricted to using the players that I've already got. This is the best way, I think, to set them up, and I think this is probably our best 11 at the moment. I don't know how much we need to get to know these players, and I kind of don't know how much time we need to be spending on this first season because I think we just need to sort of play it through, see where we go, and then wait for our first intake. I'm a bit concerned that we're not actually going to get an intake this year because if I go to my youth candidates page, we've actually got an intake already, and it's just one goalkeeper called Eduardo Gargano. I've looked it up, and usually we get our intake in Italy in April, but I'm just hoping that this sort of doesn't spoil that because we kind of need to get players in ASAP to start trying to develop them to get them into the team. Because if they come in at 15, it's going to be 3-4 years before they're going to be actually usable in our first team too. Eduardo Gargano, by the way, looks like he's got a bit of potential. I'm a bit worried that he doesn't look particularly good though. He's got the height that I need. I usually look for reflexes, which are pretty good. He's 1 star at the moment. Obviously, I'm not going to use him yet, but he does have decent potential. He does also have a con of poor consistency, which is a bit of a shame. Who knows if he's going to become usable, but as of right now, he's our one and only new gen. We do have an under 18 squad, but at the moment, these players are actually real players. They're just really young and in the youth team here. We also do have an under 18 squad, which has young players, so we might have to actually use these players in the future. None of them really standing out as having lots of potential, but I guess we'll see how they develop. Our squad as a whole is okay. I think we should be aiming for promotion once I get my hands on these guys and implement a tactic that I think is going to work. I'd always say that we are planning to overachieve on the season preview. And a 9th place prediction tells me that being in contention for promotion isn't outside the realms of possibility. I guess it just depends how these players actually go. We also need to make the most of having these loan players as well at the moment, which is going to be a bit of a novelty because we won't be able to have them next year. I've never done a challenge like this where it is completely youth academy only. I've done challenges where I've done free transfers only, or I can only sign young players, for example, but having to completely rely on the youth intakes, something I've never done before, and I'm sort of hoping it's going to be a real challenge. We've done other saves recently that have been really challenging, and I think it's added a real aspect of enjoyment, fun to the game for me. I'm sort of hoping that's going to be the case again in this one. I will, of course, be trying to improve the youth recruitment, the youth facilities, as well as the junior coaching, etc., etc. Any money that we get is going to go into that, as well as the idea of trying to make sure we have the very best possible head of youth development. At the moment, we've got Carmelo Moro, who is, I mean, he's pretty average. I have had a look though. There's no one really better. I'm going to be looking for a head of youth development that has good working with youngsters and good judging player ability and potential, but also has a good personality. He's got a balanced personality, which is by no means the worst, but it's definitely not the best. So I'm going to go and see if I can replace him with somebody potentially a bit better, because then that apparently does have an impact on the youth intakes that you do get. As it stands though, it's time to get into this first season. Try and establish ourselves as the manager, see if we can get ourselves mixing it with the teams at the top of the division. We are newly promoted to the Serie B. We won the league, the Serie C last year. And Catanzaro have actually spent time in the Serie A in their history. They've spent 7 seasons in the top flight in their history. So it's time to return them to there. Except I can't sign anyone, and that is sort of what I do best on Football Manager. So let's test ourselves, challenge ourselves. I'll see you for an update maybe halfway through the season, maybe even at the end of our first season, depending whether or not we get a youth intake. Let's go. Right, so I've actually gone all the way through to April. We are approaching the end of our first season here. Because these players aren't our youth intake players, I wanted to make a bit of swift progress with the save, to be honest. First season, I was kind of hoping would go the way that it has been going. We're top of the league after 31 games. It is only by 1 point, though. Sassuolo have kept pace with us the entire way. We've got very similar records, actually. 20 wins for both of us. We've drawn a game where they lost the game, and that's the only difference. We lead by 1 point at the top. We've actually had a really poor run of games recently. We lost to them, then we drew to Reggiana, and then we've just lost to Brescia. We had a much better lead at the top of this. I was going to come back then at the start of March to tell you about the youth intake, and then I've got some news about that in a second. But then we also didn't win in 3 games. This is going to be quite a close title race for the remainder of the season. But the reason that I'm back now is to tell you, we haven't had a youth intake. We just didn't get one in the first season. Eduardo Gargano, that goalkeeper that I told you about, is our youth intake for this first season, which is a little bit frustrating for a save like this, but it's another reason that I've sort of zoomed all the way through to here, because the real save is going to start at the end of this season, where we can start to put things in place like our new head of youth development, like trying to hopefully improve our youth facilities. It will be helped along a lot if we can win this title, or at the very least if we can get promoted. If we can hold off Frosinone in 3rd, we should be fine, because 2nd place does get promoted. I've had a look as well, by the way. You don't get much money for getting promoted. £2.14 million prize money. I'm assuming that like TV money and stuff like that is going to be a bit better in Serie A. Doesn't strike me as a league that does reward you too much financially. The Bundesliga, you get loads of prize money. Premier League, of course, you get loads of prize money. I think it might be a bit trickier to work for the money in a save like this one. And that is important in a save like this one, because what we need to do is reinvest in this. And if we don't have money, the board are going to say no. In fact, I've asked a few times. I don't know if it shows on here. It doesn't. I've asked a few times and they just straight up say no, because we've not got the money for youth facilities improvement. I've not managed to improve it at all yet, but I'm hoping that if we do get promotion, we'll have a bit of money in the bank. And that's usually what makes them say yes to improving facilities, right? Wanted to mention as well, by the way, I did notice we do have this man here who I've put into the first team at this stage. It is Pietro Matacera. Now, he doesn't look like he's up to much, but he's a real left back. I've actually noticed that he's wanted by a few teams too, which tells me he might have a bit of actual potential. Also, at the moment, our scouts and our coaches don't have great judging player abilities. These star ratings keep flying up and then going way back down. But I am sort of thinking we need to invest a bit of time into Matacera. He's listed as our hot prospect. He's a left back. Our current left back is this man here, Veroli, who's on loan. So we're not going to have him next year. He's pretty good as well, only 21. He's much better than Matacera. But I'm kind of wondering if I need to be trying to get Matacera onto the pitch playing games to try and develop him. At the moment, he's only 1 star, but we might be relying on him in the future. He looks like he could be okay. He's our hot prospect at the moment, more so than Gargano. The rest of the under-18s, I've had a look at them. There's not loads in these squads that make me jump for joy, but I think a lot of these may actually end up being on the pitch at some point in this save because we might not have other options. We can talk about this more when we get to the end of the season, but another thing that I've sort of been playing around in my mind and trying to work out what is best is our current players, the ones who are, say, wanted by other teams, like our goalkeeper here, Fulignati, who's actually said he's going to leave on a free, or at least think about his options at the end of his contract. I'm wondering whether we actually ever sell a player or not, or do I need to try and hold on to everybody because we might need them, because I can't go and replace them by signing players. And if we don't get youth intake players, I might just need every single man that I've got available to me. We're already going to lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 members of this first team squad because their loans are going to end. I can't really be selling any of our players, even if they're, say, our star striker has been Pietro Lamello, he scored plenty of goals this year. He's actually got an amazing record for Catanzaro. Look, 52 in 76 all comps. He's got 18 and 28 for us. Look at that for a season last year in that promotion season. 28 and 36. He's 32, but I can't sell him because I might need to use him for the next 2-3 years. I suppose we'll think about this a bit more in the summer window. But for now, there's all sorts of things going around my head about how best to approach this as a save. It's a real challenge. I like it. It's already a challenge and I'm enjoying that. I suppose now, though, we need to go to the end of this season. Hope we don't bottle it massively from here. As long as we finish top 2, I think I'd be happy enough. But it would be nice to get a title to start things off, wouldn't it? I'll see you at the end of season 1. Okay, so we sort of did bottle it a little bit. We've been promoted. Let's start with the positive news. We have been promoted in our first season here without signing anybody, with just putting in quite a mundane 4-3-3 system. We've managed to finish second. I'm actually kind of annoyed with myself that we didn't win this league. After that 3-game winless run that I showed you in the last update, we actually went unbeaten for the rest of the season. We won our last 3 games, but a draw against Cosenzo and a draw away at Mantova is enough apparently for Sassuolo to take advantage and win the league. The run of form that they've been on has just been better than ours. They lost a game against Sampdoria in March, at the end of March, after beating us. They then drew a game to Brescia, and then they won the last 6 games of the season. They actually only conceded, the last 4 games of the season, they didn't concede a goal. So fair play. GG's to Sassuolo. They will be going back to the Serie A as well. They've got like Domenico Berardi. We don't have a player as good as Berardi. He's got loads of caps for Italy and things. I'm happy with the performance of the squad. Star man probably being Lamello, the striker, 20 goals. Actually, that's a lie. Our actual star man is this man here, Jari van der Putter, who is a left winger. I've been playing him on this left-hand side, inverted, or as an inside forward, actually. Right-footed Belgian winger who's been very, very good. He's actually just solid. A lot of attributes at 14 in the right places. 14 dribbling, crossing, passing, technique, pace, and acceleration. He's very, very 14. Off the ball's 14. Teamwork is 14. And if you're 14 out of 20, I think you're pretty good to be playing in the second division. I think and I hope he'll be good for us in the top division next year. But I do need to sort him out with a new contract because his contract does expire at the end of next season. Speaking of contracts, we do have a fair few that run out at the end of this season. Obviously, all of those loans are going to be discontinued and we're going to lose all of those players. But there's also the goalkeeper who started every game this year, Biaski Pontiso. He's really good, this defensive midfielder as well. That I probably need to sort out with new contracts. We'll see how that goes. I think I'm leaning towards trying to keep everybody rather than sell anyone. I'd like to see what our money's going to look like now in the Serie A, though, and then make a bit of a decision. I have actually just asked our board to improve our youth facilities. It's pending at the moment, so we await their decision on that. And we've not yet been given our budgets for next season. At least I don't think so. I've not actually looked at this screen to keep track of what our transfer budget is because it doesn't matter to me. We don't need this money. I'd actually love it if there was an option in here somewhere to say, take away the transfer budget. Can you invest that money into Youth Academy, please? And see what the board says to that. But obviously we don't have that option. Now, though, it's time to go and get ourselves ready then for Serie A. I'll be back with a few updates. I'm going to go and try and prime ourselves ready for our first intake next season. That's the exciting part, isn't it? I was going to say, I'll see you when I've done some transfer business, but I'll just see you in a bit. Right, so we're ready now for season number 2. And when I say ready, I mean I'm terrified we're going to get relegated. Luckily, they are expecting us, the board, to just fight bravely or attempt to avoid, actually not even fight bravely, to attempt to avoid relegation from Serie A, which tells me that if we do go down, it won't be the end of the world. And I do really feel like we might do, because obviously I can't improve the team. I have made some improvements. Before I show you what I've been up to, this is the squad heading into our first season back in the big time. We are going to go with, I mean, a lot of the players are the same players as before. The star men, Van der Putter on the left-hand side. He still, by the way, has not signed a new contract. We do need to get him locked down because he will go out of contract at the end of this season. He's only 28, so we might get 3-4 years out of him still. Brignola on the right-hand side, who is leaving at the end of his contract, and his is up at the end of this year. It says he's leaving on a free transfer, which I think he's made his mind up, right? He just won't talk to me at all. Yeah, so I guess we're going to lose him. Petriosoni's really good. He's one of our star men too. We have managed to extend the contract of the goalkeeper, Fulignati. I think overall, did we lose any of our players? We lost a couple on a free look. Sunas and Pontiso did leave on a free. I think that was all with free transfers. Yeah, it was just those two that left. So I've managed to hold on to the rest of the team, except for those loan players leaving. The issue is that with those loan players leaving, we've now got a much smaller squad, and our squad is worse than it was last year. And now we're in the top division. It's worrying. I've even had to put into the first 11 Pietro Matacera, that youngster, that left back, who, just look at his profile here. He's not good enough for a top 5 league. But at 17, he might just be our future at left back. So we're going to have to play him quite a lot this year. We do have, there is another option for him as well if we don't do. Crunch can play there, who is better than him. He's clearly an upgrade, but I don't know if it's enough of an upgrade to not use this as an opportunity to develop Matacera. So I think I'm going to use that. I've had to make a similar decision at striker as well. Lamelo, that star man who scored all of the goals last year, he's 32 now. And we do actually have, I managed to find, this man here, Gabriel Giacinto Raffaele, who he's got a bit of potential according to my scout at the moment. In fact, this is Chinichi, who I've brought in, our fitness coach, who I signed because he actually has decent judging player ability and potential. Once he came in, this guy Raffaele had a much better potential. So I'm going to choose to believe that instead. I look at his profile and think, at 19, I don't think he's ever going to become really useful. But at 19, he again might be the future of our strike force, unless we get lucky in our intakes. And even then, it's going to take a few years for them to be good enough, right? Speaking of our youth intakes, though, I have, of course, been trying to make progress in this regard. We have managed to improve our youth recruitment to the massive achievement of 1 gold star. Yes, I think it was 4.5 grey stars before, and 1 improvement has taken us up to 1 gold star here. So I'm hoping that's good. I've also managed to, this might be one of my better moves or one of my worst, I'm not quite sure. They offered me a new contract, or at least offered me a discussion about extending my contract. And I said, no, I don't want a new contract. Can you put the money into the junior coaching budget instead? And they said yes. So now my contract does expire at the end of the season, which if we do get relegated, could be a real problem. But I'm sort of hoping I can extend it before then to make sure that I don't lose my job, because that would be a real disaster for this video, wouldn't it? But it is so important to try and keep these facilities moving, right? We've now got good youth facilities. I'm not even sure that's true. It's 1 star. We've got good academy coaching and above average youth recruitment. I'm not really sure those two things line up, to be honest, because here it says below average and here it says above average. But either way, I'm hoping it was better than it was at the start of the save. Just an aside as well, they've said yes to improving the youth facilities with our new budget, with our finances looking okay at 3.7 million here. However, it's going to take us 6 months to improve that. So in about December, that will be improved. I'm hoping that that will be in time for this next intake to come in, though, because you usually get your preview around December time and then it comes in in April. So we might have just timed that quite well, actually. Hopefully, anyway, we will see. The last thing that I need to show you is an update to our staff, where I've brought in Filippo Galli as our new head of youth development. I did say that I was going to go and look for one. Once we got promoted, this guy became available and was interested in joining us. He has a model citizen personality. He's got really good working with youngsters. He's also got pretty good judging player ability and potential, especially the potential there. I don't know exactly how much of an impact this has, but I am led to believe that the one impacting factor is the personality of your head of youth development. And he's got a perfect one with model citizen. So that can only be a positive, basically. I think now, though, it's time to take on this challenge of trying to stay in the Serie A, despite us being 1,000 to 1 outsiders. Honestly, if we can finish 17th, I will be over the moon this season. And if we do get relegated, I suppose it's all part of the story, as long as we don't get sacked, because that would be disastrous. And you know what? If we do get sacked, the video will just end and I will actually still release it. I'm going to promise that right now, absolutely not being sure that that isn't going to happen. So who knows? It'll be funny either way, won't it? Let's go and start this impossible job. I'll see you in January for our youth intake preview. Hopefully, if it works. Come on. All right, then we are approaching January in our second season and there's some exciting updates. In fact, I want to show you about all the results really quickly before I get to the exciting stuff. I want to show you that we are currently pretty safe in the league, and this is about as good as we could really hope for. We've got a 4-point cushion over the relegation zone and a game in hand. Now, obviously, there's no guarantees that we win that game in hand. In fact, that game in hand is against Inter Milan, so we're probably not going to. But 4 points against teams that are, they seem to be quite bad, against teams that are not winning very many games, I feel relatively safe. Maybe I'm going out on a limb a little bit confidently to say that, with only 17 games played and about halfway through the season here. But I feel like we can stay in the league. We've got ourselves some okay results in enough games. I mean, we are losing a lot of games. We drew quite a few as well, actually. We've drawn quite a few as well, actually. But we've beaten Empoli recently. We beat Parma recently. And then before that, there's just one other win. And it was this one here against Salento. I actually want to show this here because this was our first goal back in the big time. It was scored by Werner, who plays in central midfield. He's not very good. This is our goal back in Serie A, which felt like a big moment at the time. Brignola down the right, deflected cross, smashes it in low, past Falcone, and we made it. It was a 1-0 win. I say it wasn't actually our first goal. It was our first win. It was the goal that got us our first win back in the big time. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of this, I think. And it might, I'm thinking about it right now. I don't know if this is actually going to get better. Like, as seasons go by, whilst we're waiting for youth intake players, we're probably not going to get better as a squad, right? And like, it's going to be a long-term thing at least. So surviving and just finishing in 16th, 17th, aiming as high as 13th maybe, might be our reality for quite a while. At least until, the exciting news now, at least until these guys come through and make us amazing. Maybe I'm putting a little bit much on this, but we've got our youth intake preview. Our head of youth development, Filippo Galli, is delighted to tell us that this could be a golden generation for the club. It's the perfect start for an intake. I say it's the perfect start. The perfect start would have been to have an intake last season, but our first actual intake is a golden generation. Now, I don't want to read too much into that because I do just feel like if you've got a rubbish squad, you're more likely to get a golden generation because the players that you're getting are, relative to your actual players, slightly better. And I feel like that's kind of what's happened here. I don't know if these guys are going to be world beaters by any stretch. They just need to be able to keep us going throughout the next few years. And it looks like we're going to get a real spine of the squad. Centre-back is promising. 2 central midfielders as an A grade, a striker, and then a handy prospect on the wing. That's almost the spine of the team if you need it to be, especially if you add in this attacking midfielder that looks to be, well, to be fair, it says it looks to be below the required standard as a C. Not sure quite how your grading is working there, but you know, it's fine. We'll ignore that. 4 or 5 really decent players that we can just foster and turn into first team players. When these players that are now beginning to age eventually retire, we just need to be able to refill those spots in the squad a little bit. And I feel like hopefully this first intake is going to help us to do that. And if one of them looks really good or 2 of them look really great, that's just a bonus at this stage, isn't it? I'm really excited to see it though. We're going to have to look at them in a little bit more detail, aren't we, in this save? Because these are our signings. I'm going to have loads of money left over. We've actually got, by the way, quite a lot of money in the bank. Not something I showed you before, but I meant to. I think we had £3 million at the start of the season. We're now up to 8 million. And it says our projection is that we're going to go up to 23 million. Now, that did used to say 30 million, but the idea that we're going to have actual money in the bank should present the option of improving our facilities. You'd think 8 million in the bank. I've been constantly asking our board to improve our facilities, and they've been constantly saying no, to be honest. They are still, we've nearly finished our youth facilities. In January, we will have those improved, and I'm hoping that we go from 3 stars to, will it just go to 3.5 now? Or will it jump to 4? We'll have to see, I suppose, in January. And I've also been able to improve our junior coaching budget again. That was the only time since that they've actually said yes to me improving anything. As you may notice, I've asked for the youth recruitment to be improved 3 times and they've said no 3 times. I'm not sure I like this board. They like, surely I've made all this money. I've kept us in Serie A. Reward me by saying yes to my requests. They have said yes to 50%. I suppose that's not even that bad. 5 requests made this season, 6 requests made during your time in charge, and they've said yes to 3 of them. Maybe that's not as bad as I'm making it out to be. However, I would like a little bit more. I really think the faster we can get these facilities up, the more likely this save is to be a success, right? Here are the stats of the players then, just so you can kind of see that a lot of our young players are getting game time. Annoyingly, our left back, Matasera, who's kind of one of our best prospects, actually, he's only 18 years old. He broke his ankle pretty early on. It's a 4 to 6 months injury. So he's not going to be back until like May, basically the end of the season, which is a real shame because he was actually playing a lot of games, 14 games played. Look, he did it quite recently, which is a bit annoying. Other than that, I've had a few games for Raffaele to play, our quite young striker who I think could be useful for us maybe in the future, but Lamelo's still very much first choice in there. He's our only real goal threat and he's only got 4 goals, which is, that's not great, is it? But we're holding in there. We're sticking in there. If we can finish above the relegation zone, I'm happy. I'm especially happy if they say yes to any more improvements to this. Maybe if our reputation goes up, they're more likely to say yes to some of the improvements, because a few times, basically, I asked for youth recruitment to be improved and they're like, it's the same as everybody else's. It's fine. And I'm like, no, I don't want to get left behind by our rivals. And they're like, ours is as good as the rivals. Or I say something like, for a club of our reputation, we need to improve it. And they say, it's perfectly fine for a club of our reputation. So I do feel like this is sort of interlinked somehow. Basically, the better you get as a club, the more money you've got, the more likely they are to say yes to this. So even just staying in the Serie A, to me, feels like we're more likely to be able to improve things. I did actually have a look as well. I wanted to share with you. It says here that if we get relegated, there is a £51 million parachute payment divided between the relegated teams based on the number of recent seasons they have spent in the division. Now, I don't know if that means that if you've spent more seasons in the division, you get more money, or if you spent less seasons in the division, you get more money. But either way, at this stage, if we do get relegated, which could happen in the next few years, I am seriously worried about the fact that these guys are going to retire and we're going to be left with the youngsters that may or may not be ready to play football. We'll have the good intake players, but who knows actually how good they're going to be. I'm a little bit worried about that, but the fact that there is parachute payments makes me feel a bit better. And I think the board would probably stick with us if we did get relegated, unless our results were really, really bad leading into it. If we were still getting 1 or 2 wins and things, if it was like a super long losing streak, then you might get the sacked. I feel like that's the thing that happens in Football Manager. Either way, at the moment, these are all hypotheticals. We should be able to survive this season. I'm going to go now to April, which is when we get our youth intake. And I'm very excited for it, so I'll see you then. And here we are then, the best day, the day that I'm going to look forward to every single season in this save. It is youth intake day. Now, just as a bit of a date to put in your diaries, our intake came through on the 5th of April. So just something to look forward to. It's now the 7th because I've actually signed these guys. As you can see, I've offered them the contracts. They've signed in. They're going to be signing. But have a look at this. We thought there might be 5 good players, didn't we? Based on 2 midfielders, a striker, and a centre-back, I think. Now I'm looking. I don't think the centre-back is actually all that good. We'll start with him. It's Nicholas Raggi, who doesn't look amazing, to be honest. Those physicals, he's 5'10". He's got okay tackling. He's not going to make it, I don't think. But actually, you know what? I know you want to see it. Gianluca Zilli is the star man. He has been billed, or has been billed, as an elite talent for us. He's already 1.5 stars, which means we should probably be giving him game time pretty soon, mate. Maybe even this year. But he's got 4 stars of potential, according to Filippo Galli, our head of youth development, who has actually got good judgment for potential. So hopefully that's on the money and this guy is actually going to be special. Gianluca Zilli, a cool name. Don't be silly. Gianluca Zilli is going to be in our midfield. He looks okay. There are some good attributes here. There are some scary physicals. Now he's 15, so he's a bit younger. You can get them in at 15 or 16, right? He's a mercenary, which isn't amazing. Good free kick taking. Can cross. Good decisions. Okay determination. Okay teamwork. I'm not blown away by him, Gianluca Zilli. But maybe we just need to trust in the idea that he's got high potential. He's inconsistent, which isn't particularly good. He can't head the ball, but that's okay. He's operating at a Serie C level, which isn't bad for a 15-year-old. He's a mercenary. And the last one is that his lack of strength and fitness is something that needs to be improved. He's only got 6 strength and his natural fitness is 10. Work rate of 10 as well. I'm not blown away. However, sometimes you have to take these things with a slight pinch of salt. You might see a player like this actually really develop if they've got a high potential ability, which I'm just going to have to assume that he has and treat it as if he really does, because we haven't really got a choice. This is what we're working with. These are the players that we need to try and foster into first team players. Otherwise, we won't have any players. So Gianluca Zilli, expect to see him in the first team soon. I have offered him the contract to make sure we do sign him up. Then we have 2 other players that have decent potential according to our head of youth development anyway. Lorenzo D'Angelo, who immediately I'm looking at, I think this guy looks slightly better. At least right now, he feels like he's ahead of Zilli. He's 6'3" as well at 16, so he's going to be a monster of a player. He's got 17 flair. What is he? I mean, naturally, he's a number 10. We don't really play with number 10s, although we could change that in the future. I'm looking at the fact that he's got good shooting, really good shooting. Maybe like a box-to-box midfielder or something. What's he lacking in that? I suppose work rate and things. Strength is... Wow, he's a beanpole. He's 6'3", but is not strong at all. I'd love his pace to get up a little bit. Good balance, good stamina. That finishing is really quite interesting for a midfielder. Gets into opposition area, like a centre mid attack, like a Metzala or something, playing him in there, or as number 10, I suppose. I'm just not sure he's 8 passing, 10 vision as the number 10. The flair's good for that, though, I suppose, isn't it? 7 dribbling as well. Now, again, pinch of salt time. We don't know where this guy is going to develop. We don't know, but he is another one that I feel like we are going to need to try and give some game time to. I might even put these guys into our senior squads immediately. Put them on the bench for a few games, maybe even play them. He is also inconsistent, which is a shame. Unambitious personality is also a shame. 3 determination. Now, I don't think determination is as important as often people say it is, but you still want it to be higher than 3, don't you? We'll see with Lorenzo whether he can make it with that really low determination to improve and also being unambitious. Those things let him down quite a lot, don't they? I guess we'll just have to see. Other than these 2 then, there's one other player that our head of youth development, Filippo, is excited about, and that is Giovanni Parisi, a striker, 5'11", not too bad. 10 pace, 10 acceleration, not too bad. 9 finishing isn't great. Really good teamwork and work rate. When I see these 2 in a nice combination like this, I always think, you're going to be a fullback. Now, could he be a right back? He can't cross at all, which kind of ruins that, and he can't tackle either. Technique's pretty good, which is good at a young age, actually. He could be okay. Composure 8. Again, I feel like we are always going to overanalyze when they are at this type of age, but we have to kind of keep an eye on them as they develop. So maybe each season we'll come back to the likes of Parisi, Zilli, and D'Angelo. In fact, what I'm going to do throughout this save is I'm going to make a note of each good player to make sure that I don't neglect them. And I'm going to make notes and try my best to be the best fostering manager in this save, because sometimes I'm like all excited about a player and then another one comes along and I'm like, I've forgotten about the first one. Zilli, D'Angelo, and Parisi are the OGs. Let's make sure we give them a pathway to our team. Let's go and finish off this season, which, by the way, we've played a few more games since I last showed you. We're now 16th, so we are a couple of places above the relegation zone. Udinese were in the bottom 3 earlier. They've won a few games, but they are still behind us. We've actually managed to win a fair few games. Since the start of January, we've beaten Torino, beaten Atalanta. Brianza, Monza must be rubbish because we beat them 6-0 and then we lost to Hellas Verona and Frosinone. We then also, a really good month actually in March, a win away at Sassuolo, who got promoted with us. Remember, they won the league. A draw with Lazio and a draw with AC Milan away from home in the San Siro as well. That's pretty good. Or actually, it's the Comunale Milano. Is that I assume that's the San Siro, but it's not named because they are now called Kaskiewicz. In fact, where's Blue Neri? We can see if it's still called that stadium in there. Although they've got different names for the same stadium, don't they? Inter Milan and AC Milan. Anyway, that's beyond the point. It is also the Comunale Milano for Inter Milan look. So it is the San Siro. Let's go and finish off this season and start planning for season number 3. Okay, super quickly. We are now at the end of season number 2. The 25th of May, 2025 is the date now. And the only thing to update you on in terms of the board is that I've asked for an improved youth recruitment 3 times. They've said no 3 times. We did get that improved youth facilities, though, that happened back in January. It's now up to 3.5 stars. I'm a bit disappointed it only went up by half a star. I feel like that's maybe what we can expect from now on, which is a shame. If I show you the facilities on here, we've got above average youth recruitment, great youth facilities, good training, and excellent academy coaching. So our academy coaching's gone right up. Maybe this is why we are getting, or why we got a decent intake in that second season, but it can still be improved loads. Like, this youth recruitment can surely go up more. And yet, despite having money in the bank, like, we've got 12 million in our bank now. The projection says it's going to go to 25. They still say no. And I actually can't ask for, I can ask for training facilities again. I will do that as well, but they'll probably say no because that's what they're doing. Can't ask for anything else at the moment, no. Just to show you then, we did survive in the Serie A. I feel like I should probably start with that, shouldn't I? We finished 15th in the end. Very comfortable. 42 points at the end. 11 points clear of Monza, who we beat 6-0 earlier in the season. They finished 3rd bottom. Empoli and Parma made our lives a lot easier by being really rubbish. Only 2 wins over the course of the whole season for Parma. They've gone, I assume it's back down. Did they come up and then went back down? No, they won the league. They finished 15th last year. They've been relegated this year, though. I'd usually say there might be some players we could sign from there. There's not going to be, is there? Because I can't sign players. We've got a transfer budget of £3.98 million to spend for next year. We've been given our budgets for next season. Of course, that does not matter to us. And actually, what I have been doing is moving the transfer budget into the wage budget, because I'm just trying to make sure that everybody signs new deals ready for next year so that we don't lose players. We are going to lose Brignola. He is leaving on a free. We are going to lose Pompetti. He's already signed for Venezia, which is a shame because he's actually really good and really useful for us. But didn't want to sign a new contract. There was nothing I could do. He's actually our most valuable player. I thought about selling him in Jan, but nobody wanted him and he wouldn't sign a new contract. So we're going to lose £6 million worth of player there, which is a deep regret, but I also couldn't really do much about it. Finally, Eduardo Borelli is joining Pro Patria. The rest of the players have got a new contract, at least until the end of next season. This is the full squad at the moment, by the way, because I've included a whole load of youth players because I've kind of had to. Here's some stats of the players, though. The main thing to show you is that Gianluca Zilli, I did force him into the team. I've given him 7 games. He's scored 2 goals and I think made a bit of progress. We've got some lovely up arrows on Gianluca Zilli as well, our mercenary centre midfielder. I don't think any of these attributes have actually ticked over to the next one, but they may have done. Of course, I know that I can show you on here the progress attributes of all time. I just wish this page was a bit better. It doesn't really show us anything most of the time, but I think he's on the right path. Hopefully, with a bit of first team football, we can turn him into a really good player here. And we're going to be in the Serie A again next year. I'm going to go and prepare for that by, when I say prepare, probably just sort of request the board to give me new things if possible once we get the tick over, when hopefully our reputation improves. Even if I don't think it's going to go, it won't go to Continental, obviously. Can we go 3.5 stars? And then I think 4 stars is Continental. So let's see if we can go to 3.5. If not that, then maybe our place in the rankings will improve a little bit over time. We'll keep plugging along. Let's go and get ready for season number 3. All right, then season 3 is here. Now, I've been doing a little bit of thinking about our squad, basically. These are the players that I think will become first team players, or at least around the first team squad in the next few years. This is obviously not the team that I'm going to be playing in Serie A. We've got a lot of players that I've managed to renew their contracts for. The main guys are still down here. I just wanted to talk you through these ones here because I really want to just make sure in this save we keep track of our players and how we're developing them. So we had our goalkeeper from the very beginning, which was just weirdly the youth intake that was done for the first season, Eduardo Gargano. He's now 17 and I've not played him in any games yet because I just feel like throwing in a keeper at this type of level is probably a recipe for disaster, but is kind of making progress along. He's 1.5 stars for the first team now. I'm not seeing there's not loads of up arrows there. I'm just wondering as well with this that I'd love to be able to give these players loans But at the same time, I think we actually need them because eventually or quite soon, a lot of these players that are left over, just to go on here, look, if I just sort this by age, a lot of these players will be gone next season. This is our actual first team squad. What I have been using is the under 20 squad and the under 18 squad. We do have a lot of players and it's been useful because we have needed a lot of players. But I'm a bit worried that some of these youngsters aren't playing enough football, whereas they would usually be playing football in the under 20s team. But I can't make them available for the under 20s or the under 18s because I actually need them in the first team squad to make up the numbers, often as substitutes. So I'm a bit conflicted about all of that. I'm just trying to manage it the best I can. From Gargano, we still don't have any other defenders except for Matacera, who's not a new gem, but he is one of our young players here. He's played lots of football now, 22 games, already played a game this year. Didn't play very well, but he's back from his broken ankle, which is good. It's a shame that he did break that ankle. I hope it hasn't hampered him too much, but he's one that actually will be, I think he'll be a starter this year. I think he is our best. If I go to here, look, I think he is our best left back. When you look here, look, he is one of our best centre backs. Him and Cranch are our two options. Saitam should play there, but I'm going to have to use him at right back because otherwise we don't have a right back, basically. Into the midfield, we have this midfield two of D'Angelo, the 6'3" guy, who has some down arrows as well as the up arrows. He has just made his first team debut. I played him in the cup game that we've just played. We did actually lose that cup game. It was the Italian Cup first round. We lost 4-3, which is not ideal, but you can see I've actually played a lot of our youngsters. Raffaele up front, Parisi, Zilli, D'Angelo, Matacera, Gargano in goal. Played all of them thinking this was a really good opportunity for them to play some first team football. We actually ended up losing after being 3-1 up. We played Perugia, who are in the league below. Isn't ideal, but maybe it allows us to concentrate on the league, which is what I'm telling myself anyway. We've actually just played our first game of the season as well, which I'll show you in a second. I just want to go through these players. D'Angelo and then Zilli. Zilli with 2 stars for the first team. I know stars mean nothing, but they are useful to just get a quick idea about where a player stands relevant to their teammates. And for Zilli to be 2 stars at the age of 15 tells me that we might have a player on our hands here. He's already pretty good. We've got some lovely green arrows in his development now as well, which is really good to see. Probably because we played him in a lot of football. He played 7 games. He actually managed to get 2 goals for the first team. He's our youngest ever scorer. 2 goals and an assist. If we go to our records over here, he is actually listed now as our youngest ever goal scorer at 15 years, 170 days. He's also our youngest player at 15 years, 156 days after making his debut against Parma on the 12th of April of 2025. So very cool that we've already made a bit of history there. I wonder if we'll beat that. Actually, it's going to be interesting to see, isn't it, over the course of this, whether we get young players in and actually play them or not. Into the attack, we have Parisi, who was the young striker that came through our intake in the summer. Actually, I found can play on the right-hand side. Now, I was training him as a left winger because he's right-footed. And then I thought, actually, I think we're going to need him on the right wing because we've got a couple of decent left wingers. I think I'm going to play him as an inside forward, even though he's right-footed, because I think that's where he's going to get the most game time. And then maybe eventually he becomes our striker. He does actually have some really horrible downward arrows at the moment. He's wanted. Is that... Empoli and Salento want to sign him. That's probably because his potential's pretty good then, you'd imagine. He's just made his debut in that last game. Here's a player that I didn't show you before. I don't think I showed you him anyway. Pasqualini is a left winger. This is why I mentioned that I put Parisi on the right wing. It's because this guy exists to play on the left wing. Pretty good physicals, actually, for a 16-year-old. 11 acceleration and pace. 13 natural fitness. Really good balance. Good first touch. Good passing. Good technique. Could be a player still. Has potential that maybe this potential's improved a little bit from before because I didn't even notice him or look at him before, whereas now he looks like an actual option. He's made the list of one that I'm going to keep an eye on, basically. And then finally, up front, Raffaele, who actually scored in that cup game against Perugia. Got himself a couple of goals now, one in the league, one in the cup, I think it is, but he could still be useful. Good pace, acceleration, 6'2", decent finishing, dribbling, first touch, good decisions, good technique. 20 years old. I don't think he's going to be the next Christian Vieri or anything like that, but could be a useful player for us, I think, Raffaele. So yeah, I wanted to give you a bit of a rundown on these players because this is what this save is all about, isn't it? This save is also about trying to improve our facilities, which I have done very slightly. We're up to 2.5 stars of youth recruitment now. They said yes to that back in, I think it was June. Yeah, back in June, they improved our youth recruitment. The only thing they've said yes to. At the moment, I don't think I can ask for anything else either. I can't. It's very slow progress with improving these things, even though we've got £21 million in the bank. with the tick over to the new season, we've got a serious budget. I just can't spend it. They won't let me spend it anywhere. Even if it was training facilities, I'd love to improve that because I can't buy players. There's no point in buying players. £163,000 per week spare in wage budget, but there's no chance for me to spend that. I guess we just keep ticking along. We go into this season. We've played the first game of our third season here. It was a draw against Genoa at home. Our goal scorer was Van der Putter, and he was assisted by Parisi. Parisi, our new gen striker that came in the summer. It was a deflected shot that came to him, but Van der Putter, who is very much our best player, was requesting to leave at the end of last season. I've managed to make amends with him though, and in fact, he has actually signed a new contract until 2029. So we're going to keep him way into his 30s, and it's a good job because he is very much our best player. Should we get a player that it could take his spot, which seems unlikely, then we could maybe sell him for money. But at this stage, I'm like, do we even need the money? I don't think we do because we've got loads of money and they won't let me spend it on facilities. So at this stage, I just think it's about keeping the players that we've got, giving them all new contracts and seeing where we go from there. We are still predicted to finish bottom, 1,000 to 1. That was the same last year. So the aim remains for season number 3. Can we finish 17th? And if we do, I'll class that as a success. Then I'm hoping by that time, hopefully, some of these facilities, reputation, etc. will be improved. So let's go and get started. Let's go till January, where we get that exciting news of our youth intake preview. In every save, you look forward to those youth intakes and those youth intake previews. But in this save, it's a slightly higher level for it. It is all you're kind of like waiting to get to. So let's go and get to it. And welcome to much of the same, of course. This might be the case for quite a while in this save. I'm not going to lie to you. It might even be the case for the entirety of this video today, which might become a part 1. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to play this one yet. I'm just going to, like I said before, I'm going to start an adventure and we'll see where it goes, because these saves sometimes have to be quite long term. And I think like the Scottish only save, we had to do like 20 seasons. It was 19 seasons in the end. If this one has to be the same, this one has to be the same. If this one has to be part 2, part 3, part 4, so be it. It might be a lot of this though, where we're 16th in the league after 18 games, just above that relegation zone. We've got 18 points. Como in third bottom have got 13 points. It's a healthy gap, but we do just need to make sure that we maintain it. Hopefully we're about to be boosted though by a very nice youth intake. Again, let me show you our youth intake preview, which is, it's another golden generation. Can you believe it? I can. It's because our players are not very good. We don't have a load of really good players, and we've got okay youth facilities compared to the players that we've actually got. So this is why we get golden generations. This time we've only got 2 players of an A grade. We've got a B fullback, although actually it does say here that we've got 2 forwards who are considered to be fine prospects and a goalkeeper that looks a great prospect. There could be a gem in here. We just have to go to April and find out, don't we? At least it gives us that hope because it's listed as the golden generation. Filippo Galli, you're doing a good job. You're churning out golden generations. We do love to see that. It's actually something that I've just remembered to think about. Our new gens that came through last year had really rubbish personalities. So Filippo Galli's model citizen personality clearly hasn't had that much of an effect. Maybe some of the other players had the model citizen. I'm not quite sure. Also, another thing that is usually important is the fact that he's Italian and he has to have knowledge of Italy to make this work, and he does. So he is almost the perfect head of youth development. We just need to hope that these players actually turn out really good. In terms of the whole season though, we're doing pretty well. We are winning a game every now and then. We actually started all right, 3 draws and then 3 losses. 2 wins out of nowhere. We beat Palermo and Frosinone. I think we play them back to back or close. Yeah, we play them back to back in the second half of the season too. So hopefully if we just win those 2 games as well, we'll be pretty much safe by that point. Yeah, we beat both of those because they are both kind of struggling. Palermo, I think, are they towards the bottom? They are bottom. They've only got 8 points so far. And Frosinone, I think, are 19th. So we're playing them back to back and getting 2 good results. Do that again, please. Thank you very much. We lost there. We beat Fiorentina. That might be our best result of the season so far. Lost 5-0, 3 losses in. Then we went, what was it? 7 games without a win there. And then we've just beaten Venezia, which is quite useful at the start of January. I'm feeling pretty safe. I'm feeling pretty happy. The squad's playing quite well. I've given game time to Zilli. He's played 8 games. Matasera's played 12. Those are two of the players that we're focusing on. I've also given 8 games to Raffaele up front. He scored just the 1 goal, which is a little bit disappointing. Pasqualini's also played 8 games, 2 starts, and also lots of games for Parisi this year. He's actually made a lot more progress than I thought he was going to. He's been playing all of his football as a right winger. He's currently injured, which is a real shame. We're getting a lot of injuries. I don't know if it's because our players are so young, but just look at how many injuries we're getting. It's really annoying because it means that I have to use like all of our squads. Look, I've got the under 20 squads and the under 18 squad ticked because I need all of the players almost at all times. But Parisi's currently got sprained ankle ligaments, but he's played loads of football, which is quite cool. Lamelo's been our main guy. He's got 8 goals. Is it even Lamelo? I think it's Yamello. I keep calling him Lamello because the I looks like an L. That happens quite a lot in Italian footballs. I remember Vincenzo Iaquinta. Not quite sure why, but I think I always used to sign him on an old Football Manager or Championship Manager back in the day. He used to be lethal, but I remember calling him Vincenzo La Quinta. Do you ever do that? Probably not. That's very niche, isn't it? Anyway, Yamello has been quite good. He's got himself 8 goals. Van der Putter as well, 6 goals. He's our star man, to be completely transparent with you. Hopefully he just keeps doing the business and keeping us away from the relegation zone. As a whole, though, I think we're doing pretty well. I am, of course, still constantly asking for things. As you can see, in 2025, they said no to everything. In 2026, I've just asked to improve the training facilities and the youth recruitment. So I'm hoping that's already, it's the 3rd of Jan, by the way, and I've already asked for this year. I'm hoping they'll say yes to that, but who knows? They'll probably say no. They said no to everything. We are at now a 22% approval rate for our requests to the board. Not really great. I'm not a fan of you, Nicolo Pio Baratieri di San Pietro. Yeah, really long name. I'm just going to call you Nicolo, I think. You keep saying no to me. It's a real shame. You could do better. Can I ask for anything else right now? No, I don't think I can. I can't. This is how our facilities look. 3.5-star youth facilities, 2.5-star youth recruitment, 3-star training facilities. And if we look at it on here, we've also got excellent academy coaching. Hopefully that academy coaching pays off when we get our intake in April, which is where I'm going to go to now. All right, here we are in April then, and we're about to see, or I'm about to show you our youth intake, which is quite exciting. I'm quite happy with it. But before that, I need to update you on the league table because we are only just above the relegation zone. We have dropped down to 17th, although it's not all doom and gloom because we are still 7 points clear of that relegation zone. Luckily for us, Como, Frosinone and Palermo are all still really, really rubbish. And luckily for us, it means that we're probably going to avoid relegation, but maybe only just. 17th is the aim. 17th is what we're doing. I'm a bit worried about next season, I won't lie to you, but at the moment, I'm feeling quite good. I'm feeling especially good because we have got our youth intake. If I just go to, where's the first time when they first came through? It was here. These are our new players. We've got 4 players in the elite talents section. I don't know with the level of our players is actually an elite talent, but it's the best we could possibly ask for, isn't it? We have got a goalkeeper called Fabio Gonella, who's 6'6". This is a good sign. He's also consistent, which is, I think it's the first time we've had that. He looks pretty good, you know. That's a good group of yellow attributes already at the age of 16. And he's massive. I wish he was a bit more agile, but 14 reflexes, which is my most important goalkeeper attribute. I always look for that one. And he's also got decently low eccentricity, good handling, all right kicking. He could actually be really good, you know. We've already got a decent keeper, which is a shame because you don't want to double up on positions because you can only use one of them. But still, for the future, Fabio Gonello could definitely be useful for us. He came in at number 1. I'm also looking here. Paolo Spinelli is the diamond in a very strong group of players. So he's been touted as the best player of these. And he's also the player that's already the best look. So he's got a decent rating for the senior team. He's a striker with lovely curly hair. He's 5'9". He's got 14 finishing at 16. He's consistent, fairly ambitious, okay determination. Pace is a little low, 9 pace, 10 acceleration, but that can definitely be improved. Physicals can really develop quite quickly, can't they? Good off the ball, good composure, really good anticipation. Technique is okay as well. 8 first touches annoying. But other than that, likes to round the keeper, tries first team shots. He does look quite special. Really good value as well, actually, which is always a good guide to just how good they're actually going to turn out to be. I was looking at Zilli in our midfield, whose value has gone up to 4.9 to 10 million pounds. So I think it is a good gauge for what a good player can definitely be. Zilly, by the way, has now played 14 games this season, 11 starts in the league. So I'm using him, not too much, but pretty routinely just to make sure that he's getting game time. Spinelli, though, could definitely be special. I'm going to make a note of Spinelli because he is one that I need to add to my notes to make sure that I keep an eye on. Try and get him some game time as soon as possible. We've got a centre-back called Ferruccio Rulli. Don't be small, don't be small, don't be small. He's small. 5'9". That's what I was worried about. Inconsistent as well. Fairly ambitious is a bit better, though. Termination of 10, it's not too bad. Only 15. I don't know if we're going to see an amazing player out of Rullo. Maybe we can make him a defensive midfielder and that kind of saves it. What's his passing? 7 passing, 2 vision. 2 vision. Okay, he's not going to be a midfielder, is he? Right back? Again, 2 vision's not good enough. That's never going to... 3 strength. Okay, he's probably got a decent potential ability, but I don't think this guy's ever going to make it, is he? Prove me wrong, Ferruccio. Prove me wrong. Finally, in this top group, although some of these could be useful, I think that's what happened last time with Pasqualini, is I think he's probably in the top talents and I just didn't notice him. I will sign all of these, by the way, or at least all of the recommended ones, because we just need players anyway. The last one in the elite talents is Gazzotti, who is a young winger who has okay acceleration and pace, good dribbling, and is sort of okay everywhere else, to be honest. We'll see. We'll see. Let's get these guys signed up, though. Let's maybe bring them into the first team fold as soon as possible. Let's go and finish this season off, and hopefully, we should do. We're 7 points clear. Hopefully, we finish nice and clear of that relegation zone. I'll see you at like the end of May. And that's it. It is the end of May. And look at this. Look at that table. We have finished 13th. I don't quite know. Maybe it was just being free of the threat of relegation, which actually was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. But we've managed to pull away from it. We've got 44 points. We've actually only finished 7 points clear of the relegation zone. So we've maintained the gap to the relegation sides. But other teams above us potentially have just dropped off. Like Hellas Verona must have had some really, like they've had horrible form at the end of the season. Look, that must be the same for other teams because we've not been remarkable, but we've done enough to leapfrog them and finish 13th, which you'd hope would help us to move up in terms of reputation, up the club rankings, that type of thing. Atalanta, we finished above Atalanta. That feels quite important. They've had a horror end to the season too, including drawing to us. Didn't win any of the last 5 games. Who else finished below us? Salento and Venezia. Salento's last few games. Look, they haven't won a game since... In fact, they won the last game. They didn't win a game before that, though, since the 28th of February. Other teams did us a favour, basically, and we won a few games. It's our best form by a country mile as well. Since April, look, 3-1 win against... We beat Inter away from home in the San Siro. That's huge, isn't it, really? We beat Salento, beat Sassuolo, lost to Napoli, but then 3 games unbeaten at the end of the season. I really feel like it was just confidence. Just playing this 4-3-3 system with, you can see the, like, I'm sure that every time I show you this tactics page, it's got different players playing in every position. It is so like that. Like, everyone plays loads of games. Like, if I scroll down, there's players here that are in like the youth team. Like this guy, Marcelo Pyrrhus, not a good footballer. Played 3 games this year because we just need them all. Susino, never heard of him, have you? I've never shown him. He's a 20-year-old winger, played 3 games this year because we just need everybody. I've never had to do a save where I've got every squad ticked so that I can pick them for games, but it's just the way it is because of the nature of this challenge and the nature of this squad just being not very good. But it sort of worked. We finished 13. Zilly played 19 games in total. We had D'Angelo played 10 games and 12 games from the bench as well. So lots of appearances for him. We had Matasera. He's now very much a first team player. 21 games from central midfield. I think at the start of next season, I'll do another run through of our young players that we're looking to concentrate on, because I have put a couple of our youngsters from that last intake into the first team squad already. You'll see Ferruccio Rulli is in the first team squad. He's on the bench here, hasn't played a game yet. And it's a similar story for Paolo Spinelli, the striker, hasn't played a game yet, but is making good progress. It looks to me like this guy is maybe one of our better prospects. The value, £5.2 million at 16. The lovely green up arrows, a couple of them. That pace and acceleration, by the way, if we can get that to 10s, 11s, if we get everything above 10 here, with the 14 finishing, this guy could be serious. We'll just see how he develops. I think in pre-season we'll give him some game time as well, I think. Same for Rollo, who I don't know is ever going to make it because of his height, but could still be a good squad player for us, and maybe we'll think about changing his position at some point. Who knows? But overall, we're in a really good spot. We've got no players leaving the club at the end of their contracts in the summer because I've managed to extend everybody. That is all 3 squads, look. Nobody leaving on a free, which feels quite good. We've got really good money in the bank, £23 million. We've got the board saying no to pretty much everything I asked them, except they did actually say yes to that training facilities request that I put in at the start of January. That finishes in over the course of the summer. So our training facilities should be up to 3.5, maybe 4, 3.5 though, I think. And maybe that means that they'll say yes to something else. Right now, I can ask for an increase to the junior coaching budget. Sometimes they do say yes to that. Let's ask. And youth recruitment. They probably say no to both of these, but we can ask, can't we? In fact, we continue a couple of days so that you can see live whether they say yes to these things. I know that they usually say no, but I'll give you I'll do the actual conversation with them so that you can see how I'm just trying to argue the point with them. Here you go. Look, they have said no to the junior coaching budget. Let's try and reason with them. It's worth investing more in our junior coaching budget to help us produce the best possible homegrown talent. We spend enough money and we're satisfied. Right, what can I say to them? The rivals thing doesn't seem to work. Just saying they're lacking in ambition doesn't seem to work. I think I'm going to go with the rivals thing again. We're in a better position. We'll be left behind. Insist. Convince. They said no. This is what they do every time. Let's try it with the youth recruitment. I'd argue that this is an area we can never be satisfied with. We should be always looking to improve and be the best we can be. We're happy with our current setup. Lads, Simeone Vessi, please. More ambition. I'm very disappointed. We want nothing but the best for the club. I don't think you do. Yeah. They've said no to that as well. That's a shame. Anyway, there you go. You've seen my frustrations enacted out live there. We're in a good position. Let's go and see if we can build on 13th. Let's go and see how these... Oh, he's actually listed as the hot prospects. Benelli, look, isn't he? Let's see how these guys go. Let's bring them into the first team fold. And let's keep going on our adventure. All right, then. This is what the squad is going to look like heading into our 4th season at the club. I've brought in 1 or 2 of those new names, actually. Backup goalkeeper for this season is going to be Fabio Gonella. And that's because we have a new number 1. This Gonella came through our youth intake just now, remember. He's going to be number 2 because our number 1 is now going to be Eduardo Gargano. Do I think he's ready? No. Do I think he's going to turn out to be a really good goalkeeper? Probably not. Am I going to use him as our first choice this season? Yes, I am. And that is because we've had a sale. I've sold a player, which I've really ummed and ahed about doing this quite a lot, haven't I? In the end, he really wanted to move and we got 2.7 million for a 31-year-old goalkeeper. So I've allowed Andrea Fulignati to move on, and we're gonna go all in on our young goalkeepers. The arrival of Gonella, who I think actually looks like he could be really good in the future. 6'6", good attributes in the right places as we just discussed before, and high potential. He's waiting in the wings, and I think Gargano is maybe... I mean, I don't think he's too far off being able to start in Serie A. 2 stars. Like, he's probably not ready. However, at some point in this save, I think we have to make things worse to eventually get better, because the more game time we give to these young players, the better they're going to turn out. Players like Gianluca Zilli, who I'm going to go all in on this year, I think, because he's looking so promising. And he's played, what, was it 18 starts last year? We're going to try and start him in every single game this year. I'm going to try and force D'Angelo into the team a little bit more as well, because I feel like his development's been a bit slower. I'm also going to give lots of game time to Pasqualini on the left-hand side, maybe Parisi on the right-hand side, although he's currently injured, as well as, I'm debating it right now actually still, the likes of Rullo, who's just come in, our 5'9" centre-back. I am training him as a DM, as an anchor, but I do wonder, we kind of have a lack of other centre-backs that have come through intakes. We've got this guy, Parisi, who's 16, he's literally just come through. I don't know, again... It's really putting me off about what these star ratings look like, because they look quite good. They look like they've got potential, but then I'm just thinking the rest of our squad is so rubbish that they're not going to be this guy isn't going to be a 4-star player just going by star ratings. These are attributes aren't going to be able to improve to a place where he's going to be a starting centre-back in the Serie A. I don't think, but it's difficult to tell and we kind of don't have a choice. I'm looking at our centre-backs now. Scognamillo is now 32. We've also then got Crunch, who is 31. These guys aren't going to be here forever. And even then, themselves, I don't think they're amazing. Well, he's not amazing, is he? If he was in your squad, you'd want to replace him. But at the moment, he's one of our better players because they're real and they've been here for a while. Skognamilo's a little bit better, maybe. But yeah, with our aim being just to avoid relegation and with young players developing every year, I don't think it matters that much. At least that's what I'm hoping. So Zilli's going to get lots of game time. Pasqualini, I'm debating whether we do Raffelli or Spinelli. Spinelli just coming through that intake before. I think he might be quite special. Again, it's difficult to tell completely, but the value that he holds right now and the idea that this potential is really high and the pros and the cons, it all matches up to me. 14 finishing as a 16-year-old. Do we go all in and just start him? Because, I mean, just look at the difference between the two of them now. It's not actually that massive. If I just compare them to Spinelli here, is there a reason why I don't just go all in on Spinelli? I mean, he's a little bit better, Raffelli, at the moment, isn't he? And he's 6'2", which does just help. But he's got the better physicals, which does help a lot of this, well, in this game generally, I think. So maybe we go Raffelli, but I want to give lots of game time to Spinelli. I've also promoted to our first team squad here, Paolo Torti, and I'm going to try to, by the way, keep it as a first team squad. I'm doing a lot of judging how good the players are and how good I think they're going to be, and then creating a squad. Our under 20 squad is still going to be massive, and our under 18 squad is still going to be massive, just in case we need players at any point. But I'm sort of trying to make judgments so that I give the players that are in the first team squad as much first team football as possible. So there is a bit of a hierarchy there where I'm promoting them. Rather than just having everything ticked as I did before, I'm now going to keep it as a squad a little bit more so. Torti and Teresi are the two that I've recently promoted, and I think Martini as well. We're kind of lacking at right back. Calaro's our main guy, and Calaro's a real player who's not very good. So I'm waiting for a really good new gen to come through there and try and give him game time. Maybe we need to change a position of a player. We just don't have defenders. So far, I think it's just Rullo that has decent potential, and I'm not sure this guy's going to make it. Bad cons, 5'9", just not strong. He's little and not strong. I don't think he's going to make it, but maybe he'll have high potential and maybe have a bit of value in the future. I'm not sure. But yeah, this is what we're working with. Torti as a defensive midfielder, I'm thinking. Although he does only have 6 tackling, but I just don't think... I mean, he's got rubbish passing and vision. So what is he? He's probably nothing as well. This is what I mean. 4-star... Right, he's potentially 4.5 stars. I know a couple of them are white there. But potentially 4.5 stars for a player that is... I don't think going to be great. The stars are lying to us, for sure. But in terms of potential, it's all we've got to go on. Or maybe I should be looking at value and things like that a little bit more. So anyway, we're going to bring him into the first team squad with Teresi as another centre-back. And this is what the squad's going to look like for this season. I want to give a lot of game time to D'Angelo as well, who I think his development's been a bit slower. You compare him to Zilli. Zilli's really kicked on, and he's younger than D'Angelo. D'Angelo probably needs game time. He didn't play as much football last year, just 9 starts, look. Maybe we need to get him into the team a little bit more this year. He's another one that's kind of caught between, what is his position? I've been using him as a box-to-box, but I'm just not really sure that's what he is. He probably is some type of 10, but we just don't use 10s, and I just don't want to change the system for someone who might be rubbish in the future anyway. Anyway, that is sort of the nature of the challenge, isn't it? This is the point. We are once again going to aim to try not to be relegated. We are predicted to finish bottom. We've played our first couple of games of the season. I played all of the kids in this Italian Cup first round, and we had goals from D'Angelo, Parisi and Van der Putter. Van der Putter's not a kid, but you get what I mean there. I started Spinelli up front, etc, etc. This was before the keeper moved on. I then that team that I've just shown you, I've pretty much started the kids in this first game against Inter Milan as well. We did get smashed 3-0, but that is kind of expected against the team. Did they win the league last year? No, it was Roma. They won it the year before. That's actually, look at this for a competitive league, by the way. Inter AC Milan, Inter Roma. One day that's going to be Catanzaro. You mark my words. It might not be for a while, but one day it will be. What I'm going to go and do now is play a load of games, get us up to around January. I'll also continue to spam the requests to the board. You can see my recent requests here. We did manage to increase that junior coaching budget back in June, which was nice. They also finished off those training facilities in July. I'm now going to go and spam this as soon as they appear to try and improve youth recruitment, youth facilities, and then maybe even training facilities again. Our youth recruitment is now 2.5 stars, youth facilities 3.5 stars. The one of these that is easiest, I think, to, if they say yes, it seems to go up really quickly, like a star and a half each time, but they're just not saying yes. So we'll keep plugging away. I'll hopefully win enough games to keep us safe as we approach January. And then we'll also have our youth intake again, fingers crossed, for another golden generation. I'd be surprised if it wasn't, actually, because our squad now is quite rubbish. So any player that comes in that looks semi-decent is probably going to be an elite talent grade, isn't he? Let's go and find out. Let's go play some games. All right, then. Here is the squad in January 2027. We are about halfway through our 4th season at Catanzaro, and it is the challenge that I was hoping this save was going to be. We are struggling. We are having to think outside the box. We are having to be resourceful. We are having to push ourselves to try and make this a success. I'm having to really think about every game that we play and every season that we approach to try and really stretch this squad of players, these players, to the maximum. And that's kind of what we're doing. So far this season, we're doing all right. You can see the stats of the players here. Lots of game time for some of our youngsters. Claro had to play a load of games. Gargano's doing okay in goal. He's played 19 times. Bonelli yet to make his debut. 3 games for Rollo, who's come off the bench. 6 starts for D'Angelo. I am struggling to get him game time. I've given Spinelli a bit of a run recently. 4 starts, 7 sub appearances for him, but Raffaele usually starts. And actually so does Yamello as well, who seems to be the only player that will regularly put the ball in the back of the net. I know he hasn't been top goal scorer this year, but when he does play, he feels like he's going to score more often than the likes of Raffaele, even though his goal record isn't that bad this year, I suppose. Our main man is still Van der Putter. He's still going strong at 30, and we're very lucky to have him, because without him, I think we really would struggle. So thank you, Yari, for holding it down on either wing, actually, at different times. I've been very surprised with how well Pasqualini's done. He's come in and been... I didn't expect him to be good, and he's come in and been really solid. He looks like he's flying up in terms of development as well. If I actually show you, this is actually working quite nicely. I can actually see player development. If I go to here with progress and go to attributes and go to all time, you can notice that we do have serious development on Pasqualini. He has gone up 3 pace, 2 acceleration. He's got 3 extra crossing. I mean, it's only gone to 10, but some of these physicals, especially 14 pace, 13 acceleration, 15 stamina. He's got decent agility at 12. He's making himself into a decent player. I, for one, did not expect it. He wasn't one that I looked at and thought he's going to be a world beater. He's outshone quite a lot of the others, and it may just be down to the fact that there was a place for him in the team. He played a lot of games last year, played a lot of games so far this year as well. Other players, like D'Angelo, who I thought would be better, is making progress. I'll show you his development here, look. But absolutely nowhere near the progress of Pasqualini. In fact, it doesn't actually show me any attribute changes on D'Angelo, and I'm sure there must have been. He didn't have the exact same attributes as this at the start, did he? But it says all time that he hasn't gone up. I feel like that page doesn't work all the time. Let's just check on Zilli, because Zilli definitely becoming a really good player. Look at the value on him now, by the way. 17.5 million to 22 million. What does it say about his all-time? Again, it doesn't show me the progress attributes all time. Oh, it does. You have to go off it and go back on it, and then it appeared. Look, for some reason they weren't showing up until I went off and then back on. Okay, he has definitely made improvements. His physicals, his jumping reach has gone up by 4. That's quite big, actually. That is something that I didn't even realize it would grow. It makes sense, I suppose. His jumping reach, he can just jump better. He's ticking along nicely. I'm not even sure he's grown the most. He probably has. He has played a lot of football this year. Started 15 games so far this year. He's got just 1 goal, but 5 assists. He's definitely contributing from midfield. I wonder what Matasera's growth is, actually. He's another one that I think has become an actual option for us. If we go to all time here, yeah, look, 5 more stamina, 4 more strength, 3 more agility. Actual growth. This is something, maybe I need to use this more. Let me know, by the way, if there is anything that you want me to show you more in a save like this. I'm kind of trying to show you the things that I think you want to see, but if you're sat there frustrated, I know that feeling of like, please show us more of this. Can you let us know what the end of season stats are for the players? Can we have a look at the best 11? Can we have a look at the overall records? Whatever it is, please do let me know, because I can factor that in if we do follow-up videos. And this one, I'm going to put it out there now. This is going to end up being part 1, because we're never going to finish this challenge in one sitting. I've spent an entire day playing it. This is day 2. I don't know if you can notice, this is day 2 of playing this save at this stage, and playing and recording all day doing it. I love it, by the way. No complaints, but let's do a part 1 and then we'll do maybe a few more parts after that to try and finish this off. We're going to go until we win this Serie A. We're going to do it, okay? These players, Zilli, Captain Zilli one day. Is he ever going to be a captain? What's his leadership? 12. Do you know what? Captain Zilli one day. Why not? That'd be lovely, wouldn't it? One of our first intake players to lead us to the top could be really, really cool. That's why I like this challenge, by the way. I feel like it's a fun one. I feel like it's very me. It's a lot of my type of narratives to weave into the game and growing to love the characters, the players that we've got in our team. Anyway, we digress. We're talking and putting the worlds to right. Let me show you how we've been doing. We are 14th in the league, 18 points, 4 points clear of relegation. I'm feeling okay. A little bit close for comfort, I will say. A win or 2 to take us up to around here would be nice. But at the moment, we're in 14th, so we cannot complain about anything. And of course, you may have been waiting for this the whole time. The 3rd of January does mean that we do have a youth intake to have a look at. That intake looks like this. It is another golden generation, but I don't think it's as good as the other ones. We've got 2 players that are going to be elite talents or A grade. In fact, is it 2? There are a healthy number of new fullbacks in the pipeline. I don't know how many that means, but we've fullbacks is an A, strikers is an A, and it looks like there's just one of them. And then the rest is a little bit meh. It does class it as a golden generation. I actually feel like every year we should get a golden generation. If you factor in where our youth recruitment and facilities are now for a club of this size, for a squad of this quality with these players, like players starting for us like Spinelli, who has great potential, could be amazing in the future, but isn't Serie A quality at this stage, is he? Any player that comes in with decent potential, even like lowest level Serie A, Serie B level of potential, should be like an A. So it should be a golden generation. I don't want people to kind of get carried away with the fact that we're having golden generations every year. This is so dynamic based on, it's relative to the quality of your squad at the time as well. It isn't just golden generation means amazing players. Although it will mean that you have the chance of getting the best players. If I ended up getting an average intake with a really rubbish squad like this, those players would be seriously dreadful, right? That's my understanding of it anyway. Let me know in the comments if there is anything else that you understand about that. I'm always willing to listen to you guys. We are, though, going to get 2 really decent players here. These have been our results. There was a 5-1 win. We love playing Monza. We just adore playing Monza. If you need a win, wait until you play Monza. We beat them 5-1 away from home. It was our first win in, what's that, 4, 7, 8 games. First win in, well, 1 win in 8. We did win 2 in a row here, Cagliari and Sassuolo. We're doing the same thing. We're dotting wins in between lots and lots of losses. And when we come up against a big team, a team like AC Milan, we lose that game because they're really good and they've got players like Benacer, who's just going to be streets ahead of any of our players. But that's okay. As long as we don't get relegated, in my head, we're making progress. And I think I'm going to go and make some more progress now. Let's go and get ourselves to April and find out what these 2 players that are on here, or 2 positions, let's go and find out what this intake looks like. Oh, by the way, quickly before we do jump forward, forgot to mention, we are also, again, improving our training facilities. That is finished. We started that in October. It will be finished in about March time. So by the time we come back for the intake, our training facilities should be up too. Can I ask for anything else right now? I can't right now, but as always, I am spamming this, asking the board constantly. We did do, that was back in September. So I think actually that's since I last saw you as well. We have also improved our youth recruitment since last time. Still only 2.5 stars, but we're making moves. We're going to keep plugging along with that one. I'll see you for intake day. It's youth intake day here in season number 4 then, the 4th of April, 2027. Before I show you our youth intake, I want to just update you on our facilities. Our youth recruitment is up to 3.5 stars. Youth facilities, 3.5 stars too. Training facilities are 4 stars. We've actually made serious progress there. I'm happy with where we've got to. Few more seasons, maybe 5 more years, and I think we'd actually be looking at some of the best facilities in the game. Also, something I've not shown you loads of, our coaching staff is pretty competitive for Serie A. If you think about where we've come from and what it used to be, I'm quite happy with this. We're getting there. I'm not able to attract the very top coaches. When I do a staff search, the top ones with good attributes don't really come up. But we're sort of getting there, and I'm not bothering with the recruitment team. I've not improved them at all. I have set it so that my director of football, or whoever it is that I've set the responsibility to, can improve these things. But what's the point? We're not scouting people. We don't need to see how good potential transfer targets are going to be because we don't buy anybody. Also, our physios, they keep asking, they keep saying no to more physios. In fact, we're going to ask again right now because it would be nice, but they keep saying no to that one. So we are making progress. The board requests look like this. We've got that physio one just going through. They rejected a youth facilities recently. On the 19th of Feb, we did finish our training facilities improvement, which is how we got to looking like this. Youth intake though, this is what you really want to see. This was the news item that came through on our desks, and it looks like this. This does not match up with the preview at all. I don't quite understand what's happened. Well, I do understand what's happened. This is massively inflated for how good some of these players are, and it's going to be quite difficult to see which of these players are actually good, because look how many 5-star or 4-star at least players we've just had through our golden generation intake. That intake preview said that we were going to get some fullbacks and was it a striker? The striker, I assume, is Campani. And then we've got a left back in Salimi and a left back in De Rosa. And then I don't know where some of these other players. There's a left winger, a right winger, left mid, a centre mid, an attacking midfielder. We've got a Brazilian come through. I think there's a Welshman. Thomas Evans has come through. He's a centre back or right back. Actually, we've been crying out for centre back, so please be good. He's only 4 stars, 3 stars, 3 gold stars here, which tells me he's probably not going to be that good. Again, I feel like I have to just keep saying this. This looks like something is amiss here and the editor has been used. I'm well aware of that. However, it is, just to clarify, because of our lack of quality, because we are a 1,000 to 1 team in this league, because the players that we are using are all not very good. If I go to general info here, they are all, look at our squad. We have only got, was that 7 players over the age of 21. There are 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, all through our squad, our playing squads. The actual ability of our players, if I sort them by ability, our best players are this guy here, who is, I don't think, he wouldn't be a top player in Serie A, would he? He's actually quite good. Maybe that's not a good example. But even actually, a good way to show you this, if I go to players in range, if I just search, this was me looking for homegrown players. If I just search for a player, can I find a player that is, according to my scouts, if I just add a column actually in here, which is ability, according to my assistant manager, do I have any in here that, yeah, okay, there we go. These players are apparently 5-star players right now. And I reckon if I go down this list, there will be players that are of that quality that are not very good. Let's go with the guy at the very top of this. Swalio Mate, 33 years old, value of £1.2 million, is apparently top elite player for us. I just want you to put into context what type of player might be getting top ratings according to our staff. This guy here would be so useful for us, obviously, would be 5 stars for us, but that's not an amazing footballer. And this is why average footballers are getting really high potential star ratings in our youth intakes. I really don't think I can go over that point enough. I know that you guys do understand that, but I think when you first glance at this, it's like, oh my word, this is the best thing ever. It won't be the best thing ever. It's pretty good. It's needed in this save. And 1 or 2 of these might turn into really good players. I'm really hoping, looking at this, because he's 2 stars already for the senior team, that maybe De Vita might be good and maybe Campani might be good. A right winger and a striker. We'll look at these players individually and I'll do a proper audit of them when I get the team ready, I think, for next season. You know, when I do my new squad for the season, I'll go through any players there. But let's have a quick look at these. Let's start with the top guy, Agnello Campani, striker, already good enough to be in the first team, according to this. He's 15. He's 6'5". Yes, that is the first thing that I saw. Another mercenary as well. Teamwork's really good. Work rate's really good. Physicals will improve. We've seen that in some of our Pasqualini's, a really good example, how these physicals can really improve. He will be good for us. Where's he lacking? Concentration's low. First touch is He's actually pretty good. Bravery, anticipation, they will improve. He's not very agile, but he is massive. Agnello Campani, 5-star potential, potentially. 4 stars guaranteed. That puts him, by the way, just this again, for more context, if he reaches his potential, according to our staff, he has the same potential ability as Gabriel Raffaelli. Raffaelli is not good enough to play in Serie A. And he apparently has the same potential. And we've seen that he doesn't really grow and he's not particularly good. So again, we don't get too carried away, but I'm sort of getting a bit carried away with him. I think he could be quite good. The fact he's massive makes me quite excited for him. Let me know what you think of our intake players, by the way, in the comments down below. Next up, we have a left back. Now, we do need defenders. Salimi looks average at best. Not great pace, okay acceleration. Can he tackle? 8 tackling. Can he cross? 10 crossing for a fullback is actually quite high for a new gen. The teamwork is okay. Work rate's good. Off the ball, passing's not very good. Concentrate. He's not great. Inconsistent, unambitious, 3 determination. Probably won't be very good. But prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Davita, another winger, right-footed inside forward on the right-hand side. I'd love it if he can play on the other side, I suppose. Good pace and acceleration. These are a bit low, but could easily improve. Not good vision and work rate. Really good technique. This guy could be okay. 4 strength, 7 balance. Obviously, there's going to be holes in his game. Decent personality and decent determination. Okay pros and cons. He's injury prone, but some decent pros in there as well. I think he has a chance, I'd say. DeRosa, left back, another one that looks fairly similar to me. Not great physicals, inconsistent, fairly determined, can't tackle, cannot pass, cannot see. Not sure about DeRosa. Emerson, now he's Brazilian. This is exciting. Okay, good teamwork, great flair, which is what you want from a Brazilian attacking midfielder. Where do we play him? Do I need to make him a midfielder, maybe, Emerson? Or maybe play him out wide, turn him into a left winger. He doesn't really have the pace or the physicals for it. Can he tackle? No. Otherwise, I was like, maybe we'll make him a right back or something. Probably not. He looks like he could do something. He's got some really, like the 16, 16, 17, 17 is a good starting point for a 15-year-old. And he's Brazilian. Is massively injury prone. And is also inconsistent. That could let him down. We'll see. Hopefully not. We have got Donofria, who's a left midfielder. Seems all right. I don't think I need to dwell on these too much because they are all much of a muchness. And again, I know. And even though they've got these really high potential in terms of stars, they're not going to be that good, are they? Di Caralis is a temperamental winger who looks okay at best. Anybody else got 2 stars on here? No. We've got a Guinean left winger who looks all right. I'll show you these quickly in case any of them jump out. And if you spot one that you're like, actually, he looks like he's going to be really good. This guy's only got 4 attributes that are above 10. Although he's got quite a few that are 10. Alfonso Rafa in midfield. I think that's all of them that I've shown you from here, right? Any in top talents that look good. See, this guy could easily be in top talents. Christian Barron. Very aggressive, very brave. Okay, good tackling on him. Any of the other ones from down here? Raimondi as a right back. Thomas Evans, the Welshman, we'll have to have a look at him. Raimondi as a right back is... I mean, he's the type of player that might make his way into the squad just because he's a defender. And we are so lacking on defenders that when these guys here, Scognamillo and Crunch and also players like Saiton, when these guys leave, there's going to be a huge gaping hole in our squad where at the moment we've got maybe Rullo that could come in. And Rullo is our 5'9" guy who I think he's getting better, but he's not quite. So this is what I mean. This guy's now still 16. Compare him even to some of these guys that are apparently top talents, elite talents. Look, so he's a left back. If I compare him with Rullo, I know he's had an extra year. Rullo's still maybe better in a lot of different places. Then again, maybe DeRosa's better in a lot of different places. Maybe my first glance was slightly wrong there. They are much, actually, better mentals, better technicals. Maybe it's just the key stats for Rullo on there. Not sure. Anyway, it is difficult to tell sometimes with these new gens, isn't it? Finally, we'll have a look at Thomas Evans, the Welshman. He's a bit rubbish. And it's nice to have a Welshman. Where was he born, actually? We'll check that. He was born in Aberystwyth. Let me know how you say that properly, Welsh viewers. Let's now, though, continue our season. Just to update you, we're losing a lot of games. We've won a couple recently. We beat Cagliari. We drew to Torino. We beat Salento. It's kept us away from that relegation zone, 29 points. 5 points clear with 7 games to go. I think we'll be fine, but we're not winning loads. We are losing a lot of games. We lost 5-3 here, lost 4-0 there. We lost 6-1 to Sassuolo. We lost 4-1 to Inter Milan as well. Not great. I'll show you the stats of the players as well. Plenty of game time for Zilli and Spinelli and some of our youngsters, but we're not in too great a position. let's go finish this season now. And maybe I'll try and bring in a few of those new gens. Maybe the striker, Campani, because he looked maybe the most exciting at 6'5". Maybe I'll bring him into the first team. Anyway, I'll see you at the end of season 4. And here we are then, end of our 4th season. It's another season of sort of just getting through it, really. We finished 14th. That is what is that actually in terms of our finishes now? If I go to my manager history, we'll be able to see that, won't we? We finished 2nd in Serie B, then 15th, then 13th, and then at the end of season number 4, we finished 14th. So 15th, 13th, and now 14th. It's pretty average, isn't it? 42 points, well clear of relegation, 9 points clear of Salento, Sampdoria, and Cagliari, who are going to go down. Salento have their, is it the playoff? It's Brianza versus Salento, Monza versus Salento. So there's actually, I didn't even realise that. There's a playoff between 17th and 18th for who gets relegated. I guess I was just lucky that we've always managed to avoid finishing 17th. A few of these seasons, I was like, we'll finish 17th, we'll be fine. I hadn't actually realised that there's a playoff game that we would have been drawn into. That would have been dramatic, wouldn't it? Especially as I didn't know that it existed. Please let Monza win that one because we always beat Monza. So Monza win that, stay in the league. Salento get relegated, please. And hopefully we'll avoid ever having to play in that particular game. This season, I don't think we would have been dragged into it, but we definitely avoided it. By this end to the season, we won our last 4 games. We beat Bologna, we beat Monza, of course. We beat Roma and we beat Sampdoria. So a lot of the teams around us, actually, we managed to win against, Monza being one of them. Paolo Torti, by the way, came in, played him as defensive midfielder. He scored 3 goals in 2 games. He can play out wide, so I guess that's why. He's actually made quite a lot of progress. One of our new gen players from a couple of years ago now. He's very much in our first team squad. This is that squad. These are those stats. 33 games for our goalkeeper, Gargano. Did get injured for a bit. So Gonello did play 6 games. Doesn't look like he's making Can I actually see, did he make any progress in terms of attributes? You'd expect him to, right? All time. If I then go, oops, I've gone off it the wrong place. If I go here and then go back on it, okay, we've got a bit of progress. Balance up to, he's gone up by 1 in a few different places, hasn't he, Gonello? Good to see, but maybe more game time next year. Do we make him first choice? Maybe not. Gargano's done an okay job. He's actually solid enough. 1.8 to 3 million as well at 19. Maybe I've sold him short recently by just saying he's kind of a placeholder for Gonello to come in. Maybe he's not. For Gonella to come in. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's useful. Polaro played loads at right back. We really need a new right back to come through. Quite desperately. That intake that we just got doesn't look like there's going to be a really good one. But this guy I don't think is good enough. His physicals have improved to a place where he's been useful, though, to be fair. The centre-backs and Matasera are the same. Werner as our defensive midfielder. Did tell you that Torti played a fair few games, look. Scored 6 goals in 7 games. Some of these he did play as a right winger. Came off the bench as a right winger quite a few times. But he's weirdly a goal scorer. Petrosoni's asked to leave, but I'm just hoping we just keep him. I'm just going to refuse to let him leave. 34 games this season for Gianluca Zilli. Huge progress from him. He looks like a real player. 23 to 29 million pound in value. The main man. The leadership hasn't improved. Can I send him on a leadership course? I should do that, shouldn't I? We need to start building him into the captain that he can be in the future. But lots of games for him. Less so for D'Angelo, who, yeah, he's kind of stagnating in comparison, isn't he? It's just lack of game time. You just need to play these players. Maybe next year we force this pairing a little bit more, maybe. Pasqualini got 6 goals. He's developing nicely. Lots of games for Van der Putter. 8 goals from him. Spinelli only started 11, came off the bench 11 times. 22 games, 1 goal, which is a bit worrying for a player that I think has got a high ceiling. But if they don't score goals, that could be an issue. 20 games, 0 goal, 1 goal. Maybe not good enough. Our main goal scorer still, I can't get rid of him. Yamello, 10 goals in 23 games. He just has to play because you play Raffaelli or you play Spinelli instead and we don't score. We play the main man Yamello and he scores 10 goals. Look, it's just, yeah, the experience. He can't run anymore, but he will continue scoring goals. I think his contract is up this summer. It is. So we are going to have to say goodbye, I think, unless I give him a new one. He's unhappy, so I don't think he'll sign right now. He's unhappy with the lack of depth at right back. You know it. Look, Yamello, I agree with you fully, but I think it might be his last. I think this may have been his last season here. Maybe we go with Campani. I did put him into the first team squad. He didn't play any games, look, because we've got a few other options in that position. But we're in an okay place. I'm feeling quite good. Our facilities look like this. 4-star training, 3.5-star for recruitment and youth facilities. Our Junior coaching is brilliant as well. Exceptional academy coaching is also hopefully going to help us with our intakes in the future. This is where all of our money's gone. £30 million in the bank. We've had our transfer budgets, which was £12 million. I immediately put them all into the wages. We are £417,000 per week spare in terms of wage budget. That is quite nice. It's a position I'm not usually in. We have made profit since the start of the save, as you would expect. £30 million in the bank. Will they invest it in facilities? No. Will they say yes when I ask them for things? Mainly no. I've just asked them again. Well, you've just seen me ask for that leadership course. I've asked them for the training facilities. They did recently do the youth recruitment again, so that's done. But before that, they said no to youth facilities. They did give us a few more physios after I asked them before. And coaches also, they've improved. We are getting there with our coaching. Look, we've actually got, in some regards, the best coaching in the league. We won't have it for scouting because I don't care about it. I actually need to go and hire a new physio. I'll go and get that done. That, though, is where we're at for the end of season number 4. Season number 5, I'm going to go and do another audit of the squad, create a first team squad, promote some youngsters, maybe demote some that I don't think have got a future, and talk you through where we sit going into our 5th season. Is this the year that we need to push on to finish above 14th? Can we aim for mid-table? Are we still at 3 stars, by the way? We're still 3 stars rep. I'm hoping that goes up because I was looking at that in comparison to other teams. Some of the teams that we're finishing above, I think some of these teams are 3.5 stars. Yeah, Sassuolo, who we're finishing above, are 3.5 stars. So surely soon we should go to 3.5 stars, and maybe that helps somehow. I'm not sure what it would help with, but hopefully something. Anyway, I'm going to go and have a look through this squad and make a bit of a decision on some young players, and I'll be back to update you on that for the start of season 5. And so then, after doing my audit and deciding on this first team squad, this is how things look. This is my big first team squad with all of my young players ready for season number 5. You know things get serious because I even used Microsoft Excel to make a spreadsheet of all of my players to work out who was going to be where, who's going to be my first choice right back, second choice, third choice, etc. Let me know if you do that in your saves as well, by the way. This is how I think things are going to look heading into our 5th season. Before I show you that, I just need to tell you about a couple of outgoings. Gualtieri and Tedesco were both, I mean, they were like 20 and a bit rubbish. They've both left. We also did eventually lose, is it just on free transfers, released players perhaps on here? We did also lose these guys who were then released. The main one being Pietro Yamello has now departed. He scored lots of goals for us over the years, 10 goals last season as well. We are going to have to try and replace those, but we started where? This season here, he got 20 goals in that first season in Serie B. We did need him over the years. Now though, his role is going to come down to Campani, that new 6'5" striker that we got in our intake last year, as well as potentially Parisi, but maybe more likely Raffaele as well, who maybe the more, well, he is the more senior right now, maybe the more likely to score. But should we be investing the time instead into Campani to try and develop him into a top player? Kind of feel like that is the case. So at the moment, I've got him starting. He will be our starting striker. Let's go through the squad as a whole, and I can tell you about who's going to play where and who the backups are going to be. So goalkeeper is Gargano for this year. He will start. The backup is still Gunella. And then third choice is going to be Ivan Mana, who came through an intake a few years ago as well. He looks a bit rubbish, but he's a third choice goalkeeper, so that's okay. Right back, still Calaro. Bit worried about right back. He is first choice. The backup's even worse. It's Raimondi. I think he came through last year's intake as well, Raimondi. I mean, he's not going to be great, but he's the backup right back. And then third choice right back, who I've put in the squad, is our Welshman, Thomas Evans, who I completely wrote off, didn't I, when we first saw him. Actually, some nice up arrows, though. Maybe being in amongst the first team squad is going to help him. In amongst the first team squad, which, by the way, should be benefiting from having really good training facilities now. 4-star training, 5-star youth recruitment. I'm very excited for our next intake. We've got there from constant spamming and asking for upgrades in this position. This is the one I think does go up the quickest, it seems. When they do eventually say yes, it's done immediately. And then it actually makes a big difference. Youth facilities at 3.5. I have asked a couple of times for that. In May, I've managed to get them to say yes. In 5 months, that will be complete. Same with training facilities in 2 months. So more improvements coming as we head into our 5th season here. We are now, this is important, 3.5 stars reputation. I thought it might have been coming because we were finishing above teams that had higher reputation than us. And that's usually what you need to do to gain that reputation. We are now, was it 3 seasons? We've had 3 seasons in the top division. Maybe that's enough now to make us that 3.5 star team Now the next step is to try and get into Europe, and then it will go to 4 stars continental, hopefully. That still feels like a long way away, though. Let's continue through our squad. I want you to have as much context and understanding of the squad as a whole, kind of understand my decisions that I'm making throughout. Both centre-backs are still senior players. Skogna-Milo at 33 and Crunch at 32. Both have contracts until, I think actually, Skogna-Milo's got a contract until 2031, despite being 33. Crunch's contract runs out in the summer of next year. One thing I've been doing, by the way, is adding in these optional contract extensions by 3 years, which means players like Zilly, I'm hoping I'll be able to trigger that soon, because actually there's a whole thing to talk about with him. He's very unhappy and he wants to move to a bigger squad, which I thought might happen eventually. I'm just going to say no. I can't sell him, can I? Because we'll have no players. So even if he's unhappy, look how good he is now. Even if he's unhappy, we're going to keep hold of players and just kind of cope with it. How we manage it is going to be tricky, I think. Backup centre-backs, though, to go back to that, are going to be Rullo, who comes in here. He is our 5'9" little guy. He's actually 5'10". He's grown. Oh, he can be a centre-back now. Don't worry about it, everybody. He's gone up an inch. Well done, Ferruccio. Lovely to see. I swear I hardly ever notice when a player actually grows. I know it can happen, but you're always kind of hoping that a player grows a little bit. He actually has. He's up to 5'10". That is glorious. I also did notice, I swear Zilly had a rubbish personality at the beginning. It's now fairly ambitious. Now, this can happen for a few reasons. This is mentoring. I've just let the assistants deal with all the mentoring. It can happen just because your squad personality is quite good and then it reflects on them. Or maybe staff has an impact, but I don't think that is the case. But I actually can't remember exactly. But if you guys watching can remember what Zilly's personality was when we first got him through our intake, I'm pretty sure it was was it mercenary? I'm pretty sure it wasn't fairly ambitious anyway, which is a really nice sign. It means that he's improved. And I feel like the same happened for D'Angelo as well. No, he's still unambitious. Anyway, it's a good thing for Zilly, and I'm pretty sure it has changed. Our other centre-back backup is either going to be Evans, who is also going to be a backup for right-back, or it's going to be Teresi, who is down here. Teresi is another player that they're just going to have to be our backup centre-backs because we don't have anybody else. Defence is where we really need some good intake players. We are just crying out for them, in all honesty. Let me just pop these players back in so that you can see the first team squad. Left back, Matasera. The backup is going to be Salimi. This is our backup left back. Really rubbish, but we move. Matasera, luckily, is really good. Again, lots of progress on him since the beginning of the save, when he was that real player that was also still a youth player when we first got him, wasn't he? Torti is going to be our starting defensive midfielder. He can't really tackle, which I am worried about. But I'm training him as a defensive midfielder and hoping that he picks it up, basically. I'm thinking maybe we use Petruccioni as the DM and then maybe maybe Torti plays there, or maybe D'Angelo comes in. But D'Angelo just hasn't been impressing me when he has played. He's one of those that I just love to be good, but I don't think he's actually getting better. Maybe it's the lack of consistency. Maybe it's something else. I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's the unambitious personality and the lack of determination. Whatever it is, he doesn't seem to be getting any better. And I feel like Torti eventually is just going to be a better player than him, which I think is a surprise. But his value is okay as well, Paolo Torti. Obviously, Zilly starts. Van der Putter is still going to have to play. If he doesn't play, we'll either bring in Parisi and play these guys, like this. Or at the moment, I think I just need Van der Putter to play. And also Parisi, I'm not sure on him either. He doesn't seem to be improving as much as some of the other players either, and he's 18 now, so I'm wondering if we just stick with Van der Putter. Pasqualini's great, and then as we mentioned before, Campani up front with Raffaele as the backup, or of course Spinelli, who is injured at the moment. Spinelli actually is probably going to be first choice, but it'll be a combination of those guys, to be honest. But the injury to Spinelli keeps him out at the moment. He's out for 12 days to 3 weeks. Spinelli, by the way, still got look at that value, 15 to 20 million. Played 20 games last year with 1 goal. I need him to develop this year. Maybe if he becomes 5'10", we'll start to believe in him a little bit more as well, but it's less important for a striker, I suppose. That's the situation of the squad. That's where we've got to. And that, my friends, is where we're going to leave it for today's video. A very big thank you to Surprise Shirts for setting us this challenge. A big thank you to you guys for watching until the end. Check out the link to Surprise Shirts in the description of today's video. It will also be the pinned comment. Go and get yourselves involved. Remember, you get 10% off if you use my code Clayts10 at checkout. And I'll see you in the next one of these when we get our youth intake for season number 5 and we finish our 5th season. The aim, as always, is to go to the very top. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.